They called him Kale Vaynar, and across 300 star systems. His name was a whisper, a curse, and a warning. He was the galaxy's deadliest assassin, the kind of man who could vanish into a crowd of trillions, slip past fortress defenses, and make emperors warlords, and CEOs vanish as easily as blowing out a candle. Kale had never once failed a contract. Not once. He had dismantled mercenary armies, toppled dynasties, and assassinated a planetary governor live on broadcast without ever being caught. He had no home, no attachments, no weaknesses. Just a reputation written in blood and fear. But the galaxy is vast, and it always hungers for more. One evening, Kale received a contract unlike any he'd seen before. A client with untraceable credentials offered him a sum so vast it could buy entire star systems outright. The target. Kindergarten teacher. First, Kale thought it a mistake. His clients had sent him after admirals and warlords, not nursery caretakers. But the dossier was clear. Name Lyra Solin. Occupation. Teacher, Class 15 designation. Planet Verath 9. That last part gave Kale pause. Vera 9 was not just any planet. It was listed in every navigational archive as a Class 15 Deathworld, one of the most dangerous classifications known. Planets of this type were considered uninhabitable for most species. Apex predators at every level of the food chain, flora laced with poisons, volatile weather systems that could peel flesh from bone. And yet, according to the file, people lived there. More shockingly, children lived there. Kale smirked. Perhaps that was why the price was so high. Maybe the client wanted to test the legend of Kale Vaynar against the deadliest world in the galaxy. Kale accepted. Middle. The journey to Vera 9 took 12 days through backwater warp lanes. Kale's stealth ship, the Obsidian Fong, glided through the blackness of space like a shadow. He spent the time studying everything he could about Class 15 worlds. There wasn't much. The few exploration reports that existed ended abruptly, often with distress calls cut short by screams. Some ancient Terran xenologists had once theorized that Deathworlders, those who evolved under such relentless brutality, would be unmatched in resilience, cunning, and survival. Entire interstellar treaties were built around avoiding conflict with them. Kale shrugged it off. He had killed psychic warlords, silicate hive minds, and cybernetic generals. One teacher, no matter her homeworld, would not stop him. When he descended into the atmosphere, Kale realized immediately why no outsiders stayed long. The air itself was thick with spores that corroded metal. The skies flashed with electric storms that clawed at his ship. The forests below swayed not with the wind but with movement, beasts the size of buildings prowling in plain sight. He touched down outside a small settlement, a cluster of reinforced domes surrounded by a perimeter wall bristling with automated turrets. This was the only human enclave on the planet, and within its heart was his target, Lyra Solin. Kale disguised himself as a trader, slipping easily through the settlement's gates. Deathworlders moved among the streets, towering and broad-shouldered, their skin weathered and scarred. Even the children had an intensity in their eyes that rivaled soldiers Kale had faced. And then he saw her, Lyra Solin. She was ordinary at first glance. Mid-30s, hair tied back in a practical knot, dressed in reinforced fabric stained with chalk and marker ink. She stood outside a schoolhouse, laughing as a group of children climbed over her like a pack of feral animals. One boy clung to her arm, another balanced precariously on her shoulders, while a third tried to trip her legs. She moved with impossible grace, gently tossing each child into the air and catching them as if they weighed nothing. Kale narrowed his eyes. These were no normal children. One child leapt a full 3 meters straight into the air. Another picked up a boulder the size of Kale's torso and tossed it aside in play. And still, Lyra handled them all with casual ease, her eyes sharp and warm at once. Kale felt something strange stir in him, a flicker of hesitation. He had always believed children were irrelevant to his work, innocent bystanders in a galaxy of blood. But here, watching them swarm their teacher with laughter and trust, he realized they weren't irrelevant at all. They were the very reason people like him existed, to destroy the fragile futures others tried to build. Still, a contract was a contract. That night, Kale broke into the schoolhouse. Silent as a ghost, he moved through darkened halls decorated with drawings of monsters and stars. He found her in the classroom, cleaning up after her students. She didn't startle when he stepped out of the shadows, blade gleaming in hand. Instead, she looked at him with calm, steady eyes. "I was wondering when they'd send someone," she said. Kale froze. "You knew?" "Of course. Someone always tries eventually. The galaxy can't stand what it doesn't understand." She set down a stack of books and folded her arms. "Tell me, assassin, do you even know why you were hired?" Kale said nothing. Professional rule. Never engage beyond necessity. But Lyra stepped closer, fearless. "They're afraid. Not of me. Of them." She nodded toward the walls, where children's laughter still echoed faintly even in their sleep. Deathworld children grow up strong. Too strong. Other civilizations worry what they'll become if allowed to grow freely. A galaxy that thrives on control has no room for children who can wrestle predators before they can read. Kale's grip on his blade tightened. His instincts screamed to strike now. But his body wouldn't move. Something about her presence rooted him in place. Not fear, but an undeniable gravity. "You could kill me," Lyra said softly. "But then who will teach them restraint? Who will show them compassion in a world that only taught them survival? You see monsters in the making. I see future healers, leaders, explorers. But only if they have someone to guide them." Kale had heard 1,000 pleas for mercy before. This wasn't one. It wasn't begging. It was conviction. And for the first time in his life, Kale questioned his contract. The following days, he lingered in the settlement under the guise of a trader. He watched the children train in games that would kill adults elsewhere, climbing cliffs barehanded, sparring with stone clubs, running through forests filled with predators. Lyra was always with them, teaching not just survival but kindness. How to share food, how to protect one another, how to stop when enough was enough. Kale began to understand. On any other world, these children would have grown into warlords, conquerors, destroyers. But under Lyra's hand, they laughed, played, and dreamed. The galaxy feared them. But Kale began to wonder if the galaxy should instead fear losing them. Ending. On the 7th night, Kale received an encrypted transmission from his client. "Report," the voice demanded. "Is the target eliminated?" Kale looked out the window of his rented room. Across the courtyard, Lyra sat surrounded by children as they begged for another story. Her voice carried, calm and firm, weaving tales not of conquest but of unity. The children leaned in wide-eyed, even as lightning storms raged outside. Kale cut the calm. When the client demanded again, Kale sent back only 2 words: "Contract void."